Oh, sorry, Bob.
Wait a minute,
Sorry,
wait till it's loading.
I'll announce you. I'll give you a heads up.
Good.
It's live now. You're live now.
All right. Thanks, Barb. Welcome, everyone, to the Friday, February 19th meeting of the Baltimore County delegation. Appreciate everybody's flexibility and everyone got a little extra sleep this morning.
Sit on that side there.
We're going to start with right to the agenda hearing schedule with HB 921, Baltimore County sewer service charges and adjustments. Sponsors Delegate Long. You have the mic, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Thank you. Delegate Bob Long on the record for present HB 921. Currently, Baltimore City property owners can request a waiver for water and sewer service charge if there's a water leak on the interior of the plumbing. Property owners that can show a receipt to prove the repairs were made and they're able to receive an adjustment once a year in Baltimore City for their water and sewer adjustment. Property owners in Baltimore County can receive an adjustment to their water bill from Baltimore City if they can prove, again, if they have plumbing problems and they can produce a receipt. Because the way the water is billed from Baltimore City and the sewer service charge is set up, it comes on your property taxes yearly. There's no way to, well, right now, it's hard to get any type of relief if you have a water leak. I've had several instances where people had $300-400 water bills for a quarter or a month or whatever, and they got it fixed, and the city waived it because they had a major water leak. They waived the fee, and the only problem was they did have a little problem getting the county water sewer service charge waived.
I had to call you back. I'm on a Zoom meeting.
This would create an opportunity for Baltimore County property owners to seek adjustment to their sewer service charge because of a water leak. This can only be done once every 3 years. You know, I've had many calls about their water bills, and we have approached the city. They have adjusted it because they've had, plumbers. It's unbeknownst to them that they have a water leak. And, anyway, the city has been very gracious to work with us, and I would request a favorable vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Questions for Delegate Long on HB 921? Seeing none, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Oh, you have questions? Delegate
Yes. Delegate Long, what are we trying to resolve here? What problem are we trying to fix here?
All right. Right now, the way it works in Baltimore City, let's say in Baltimore County, you get a Baltimore City water bill. If you have a water leak, like a toilet running, underground or pipe leaking or something of that nature, and your water bill goes from $30 a month to $300 a month, there's definitely a problem. So you can approach the city, being a Baltimore County resident, and they will give you a one-time, once a year adjustment, as long as you can show that you had the water leak repaired. There was a water leak and you had it repaired. Unfortunately, there's no mechanism in place right now that I know of. We've had it done one time, but it was kind of difficult. This mechanism would allow property owners that had a water leak, that had a plumber come out and verify that there was a water leak and it was fixed, and the city adjusted their water bill. It would allow the county to do the same thing, so they could get adjustment on their sewer service charge for the amount of water, because the way the sewer service charge is the amount of water that you use. So if you have a water leak, unbeknownst to you, this kind of gives you a break, on your sewer service charge. And it's one time every 3 years.
I guess I'm a little confused, but that's okay. What I'm trying to figure out is if you have a problem and you get it resolved, you show them a receipt, you're going to get your refund. Is that what you're saying?
You would take and you have a plumber come out and certify that you had, come out and do the repair. He'd give you a bill and say, hey, look, they had a toilet running, blah, blah, blah. So then you would go to the city. Unfortunately, you have to go to the city and you can get your water adjusted. Your amount of the water that you're paying, you can have that adjusted one time a year. And then what would happen is once that's adjusted, you would give that receipt to Baltimore County, whatever department it is. I think it's revenue. I'm sorry, I don't know what department it is, but they could allow one time every 3 years adjustment on a water bill. I had a senior that actually called me that she said she had a $400 water bill for 1 month. And what she had was a toilet leaking, and she got it repaired. The city gave her a waiver for the water. The city waived the charge on the water, and we had one heck of a time getting anything done with the county. And this would just help streamline it, put it in contents, and that way people will be able to do it a little easier.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And Rick, I'm sorry, Delegate Metzger, if you need to talk offline, I'll be more than glad to talk to you about it.
Delegate Brooks.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Delegate Metzger, so that cover, suppose I'm delinquent, I notice I've got an increase in my water bill, and then it spreads over, say, maybe 6 months. So do I get an adjustment for all 6 months, or just, I mean, what period does that cover? I know you can only get it once every 3 years, but what period, that initial adjustment, how many periods will it cover?
Well, if you run into a situation like that, you would take and go to the city and get an adjustment on your water bill. Whatever adjustment that the city would do, the county would do the same thing with the sewer service charge. Apparently, they don't talk to one another. So if your bill for 6 months is high and you have it reduced to the city, which they will do once a year, as long as you produce a receipt, the county doesn't. The county doesn't give any kind of adjustment right now, and that's what this bill is about.
I see. Okay. All right. So it's predicated on the city. If the city does something positive, make the adjustment, then the county would also make the adjustment.
Right. They will follow. Yes, they will follow suit. Yes.
All right. All right. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Delegate Guyton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm hearing a couple of different things. I just want to make sure I understand the bill. Thanks for bringing it forward. You described Baltimore City water leaks, and I assumed we were talking about water leakage that was the responsibility of, lack of maintenance or a problem with city water. But then you described somebody who had a leaky toilet. Would this be available to both of those? So if you neglect the plumbing in your house, this is also available to you?
I'm not quite clear what you're saying. If you could clarify that.
I'm sorry. You used the example of a woman who had a leaky toilet.
Correct.
That's the reason that she had too much water usage. That is not the responsibility I feel bad for her, but that's not because of anything that happened with the city water lines. That's something that was a maintenance issue in her home. Does she get a refund for something like that?
Yes, in Baltimore City, if you have a water leak and you provide them with a paid receipt where you had a water leak and they repaired it, then they will adjust your water service one time. And I think it's good because people have water leaks they don't know. I mean, sure. This woman, like I said, had a $300 water bill. It wasn't lack of maintenance; it's mechanical. Things break. We don't know about it sometimes. Sure. And so anyway, there's no mechanism to. Right now for the sewer service charge to be adjusted, and that's what this would do. And like I said, it's only one time a year. This is not for somebody that's actually going out and wasting a lot of water. If they're filling up their pool or whatever, they should pay their fair share. This is if you have a bona fide leak and you have a plumber come out and repair it. I mean, that's basically.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. I just didn't know we did that. So that's interesting. And how much is that sewer surcharge usually for someone?
It's based on the amount of water usage, whatever their formula is, and they use per
sure. Do you have
whatever. I'm sorry?
Do you have an average for that for an average home?
No, for an average home, it's kind of hard because the more bathrooms you have, the higher your water and sewer service charge could be. I can get the information to you and we'll share it with you.
Thank you. Just wondering if we're talking about $3 or $30 or $300. Thank you.
All right.
Delegate Ebersol.
You're
muted. You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm a little confused. I think my water bill comes from the city, so my sewer charge comes from the county. And so you're saying right now that the county doesn't have any mechanism for me to ask them to lower my sewer bill since it's based on my water bill. If my water bill is in order I do something wrong inside my house. Is that right?
It is, you can do it, but it's very difficult. And
Okay.
Go ahead.
My question would be, how does this make it easier? It just says you can do it. It says you can apply. It doesn't say that you'll get it or that they have to award it. And there's nothing in the bill about, asking for a judgment on that if you don't agree with them. It just says you can do it. So this is just paving the way for you to do something that some people have done before. Is that right?
It took me many, many hours to get it done.
So you have done that before.
Right, but
And so this is just, you're saying, you're thinking, I like this idea. It just will smooth, it'll kind of put it official, like you can ask and they should at least consider it, but they're not going to automatically give it, right?
They can up to 3 times a year, or one time every 3 years.
But if I apply, they might say, no, thank you to me.
Well, wait a minute, I don't know if this is
It just says I can apply. It says it doesn't say that I'm awarded anything.
I'll be more glad to work on this if you want to amend it to make it that they have to once every 3 years.
No, I'm not interested in doing that. I'm glad that it just says that you can apply, but I'm trying to figure out if that solves a problem that exists or not. I understand now. It helped.
Okay.
Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm following up on Delegate Brooks's comment, question, but maybe Delegate Eversol's question sort of addressed it. But I wasn't exactly clear on your answer, so I apologize if you answered this and I didn't understand it. So if somebody gets like a huge water bill and realizes, oh no, I must have a leak, but they don't do anything for 6 months and they had this huge water bill for 6 months, can they still get the credit? For 6 months, I totally understand catastrophic things happen. But then if you don't fix it, then that's on you. So it seems like there should be a time limit of, 1 or 2 months to get it fixed, and not like an indefinite. But maybe that's addressed because of what Delegate Eversol said, that the county doesn't have to grant it. It's just an application.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I'm sorry. My question was, if you don't fix it, you have a catastrophic leak, totally understandable, but you don't fix it for 6 months. Could somebody get credit for 6 months of sewer service? And that's on them if they didn't fix it then.
Well, there's a lot of different things that could make a difference. One, if you get your water bill every month from the city, which we don't get very often. They're very sparse how often we get a water bill. But that being said, it would be up to the Baltimore City Water Department whether they want to give you an adjustment on your water bill. Whatever that amount would be applied to your sewer service charge. And it could be 6 months. I mean, unfortunately, things happen we don't know about. I mean, if somebody's got a blatant water leak, they should be responsible and get it repaired, but there's sometimes people don't. I mean, it's a lot of times you might have a leaking hot water tank inside. I'm not a plumber by no means, but I have had several occasions where people approach me because of this, and we have got it resolved at the city, but we had one time at the county, and it was like pulling teeth. It took me, I guess, 3 or 4 hours on the phone and begging and pleading. And I think we should have a mechanism where people should be able to go to our county and say, look, I had a problem with my water service and had a water leak. I had a plumber come out. They verified it. The city adjusted my water bill. Now, can you adjust my sewer service charge? I think it's reasonable.
I totally understand that. When the city grants the adjustment, is there an automatic granting or is it something that's adjudicated within the city?
It's done through the city Department of Public Works, I believe. And what you have to do, you have to send in a receipt, a request. You have to give them a receipt and they approve it or they disapprove it. And most times they approve it. And I mean, it's not that difficult with the city. With the county, it's you know, we have no mechanism there right now to do it
All right.
in place.
So the city doesn't automatically grant it. They look at the information and then they decide.
Well, according to what I've been told, they do it one time a year. And they keep records. If somebody keeps coming back and saying they keep having water leaks, they're only allowed to do it one time a year.
Thank you.
That's their policy.
Thank you.
Last question, Delegate Bhandari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Delegate Long, for the bill. I understand the well-intentioned behind the bill, but I'm wondering if you reach out to Baltimore City Water Department or Baltimore County government, what is their position? And I'm wondering if we could fix it without these issues without any bill. Did you reach out to those agencies?
I have, the city, I don't have a problem with. Their policies are in place, and I don't have no control of that. But the county, like I said, it took me 3 or 4 hours to get it resolved. And you know, for regular homeowner, they're going to get you know, kind of frustrated. And that's why we want to have this in place. And I have no problem with amending the shall, or whatever language you feel appropriate to get this bill passed. The main thing is we don't want property owners to be hit with a big sewer service charge if they had a water leak, unbeknownst to them. I mean, I think it's fair. Wouldn't you think it's fair?
Thank you. I mean, just the position of Baltimore County government, but you answer.
I'm sorry?
What is the position of Baltimore County government? Did you reach out to them?
I haven't, but I know from dealing with them from the past, like I said, I didn't have much success. I had success one time, just trying to make it streamlined.
Thank you.
That way the everyday homeowner can go do it. They shouldn't, you know, it'd be nice if they could go directly to the county and say, look, this is what happened. You know, I'm asking for adjustment on my sewer service charge. Instead of having to go from the delegate to the councilman to the, wherever. I mean, it's complicated. So, you know, we just want to streamline it so the everyday homeowner can apply for it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Delegate. That concludes the bill hearing for HB 921. Move to HB 928, Baltimore County Archery Hunting Safety Zone. Delegate Erickson, you have the mic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good morning to my Baltimore County delegation friends. I'm here today urging strong support for, oh, somebody's mic's on. I don't know who it is. He's got background noise. Mute yourselves, people. Come on. Okay, so anyways, I'm here in strong support of HB 928. We're having some issues in our county with deer, like every county in Maryland has way too many deer. And this would allow for a shorter amount of distance, 50 yards, to be able to shoot with a bow and arrow. This would bring us into what pretty much every surrounding county of ours already has in place, and other conservative bastions like Montgomery County have in place. So this is really more of a parity bill, just to offer the people that live in our county the same opportunities to shoot deer from a blind that we have elsewhere. So I'm gonna pass it on. I think I have a friend on here to talk about it also. If I do, let's let them go, and I'll take questions later.
You wouldn't mind introducing your panel, Delegate?
I don't have my list in front of me.
Okay, sure.
Because I'm on a different computer, but
no worries.
Whoever's here, chime in.
Folks who are here in support of Delegate Erickson's archery hunting safety zones bill,
Enid Feinberg.
This is Jennifer Wiseman. I'm here in opposition to the bill.
Okay, stand by. We're going to go to folks in support, and we'll go to folks in opposition.
Okay.
So I see Enid Feinberg is in the room.
She is in opposition. I apologize for interrupting.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson is in support.
Got it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sir, if you'd like to unmute yourself, you can go ahead and voice your support.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. I live in Baltimore County. Our property is probably about a mile from Gunpowder. And as you guys are aware, the deer population is abundant up there. There's really no natural predators that the deer have. They've kind of become a nuisance, and also had some issues with deer being hit by vehicles, dying on our property. Had an instance a couple years ago where I was tending bar at the time and got home from work late, about 3 o'clock in the morning. There was a dead deer carcass on my property. I wasn't really sure what to do. Called the police. The police sent me to DNR. They called DNR. They said since the animal was dead, they couldn't do anything. So then they referred me to the Roads and Highways Administration. I called them. They said since the deer died on my property and not on the road, they couldn't do anything. So unfortunately, I had to drag the deer carcass down into the woods. We have woods on two sides of our property. Had to drag the deer carcass into the woods and just kind of let nature take its course. So a couple years later, there was another instance, same kind of thing happened, and I realized that this was my responsibility. Again, had to drag the deer carcass down into the woods and just kind of let like I said, let nature take its course. So like many of my other neighbors, I have a flower garden. I have a vegetable garden that I like tending to during the summer months. And it seems like every time the vegetables or the flowers start to bloom, the deer come in and start eating, and not quite ripe, not quite ready to harvest, but you put a little work into it, and it's kind of deflating to have the deer come in and just start eating and ruining things for you. Also, it's kind of like an unsanitary thing. The deer like to come in the yard and they relieve yourself. So we occasionally have piles of deer crap in our yard. We have a 2-year-old boxer who likes to go outside and sees it and thinks it's a pile of raisinets. So it's kind of disgusting. You have to wind up brushing the dog's teeth and then clean up after the deer themselves. So really I have a couple friends that would like to hunt our land. We have an acre plot, but we also have some neighbors that are within the current 150-yard safe range. So we're hoping to lower that to 50 yards, which would allow them to legally hunt in my yard and hopefully control the deer population. So because of that, I am firmly in support of HB 928 and hope for your support and the eventual passage of that.
Thank you, sir. And we don't have anyone else signed up in support. A few folks are signed up in opposition. And just a reminder, Mr. Williams, Wilson, you did just fine. We give 3 minutes to folks other than the sponsor to provide their testimony for again. So I'll go to Jennifer Weissman. If you are here, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
We can, and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. And we very much appreciate all of our delegates, all of you for the work that you do for us. My husband and I are Baltimore County residents. I'd like to share my screen if possible to show a couple of points here. Can you see that okay?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. We would ask that you would please oppose this bill, House Bill 928, and any effort that would reduce the 150-yard current no hunting safety zones around our homes and neighborhoods in Baltimore County. This is a huge quality of life and peace of mind issue for us and our neighborhoods, and for so many county residents. Many people in Baltimore County live near public parks, reservoirs, and places where hunting is allowed. We know that our friends in other counties where the safety zone has been reduced are miserable. It's happened without them realizing it, and now they have no way of dealing with this. Remember that modern archery weapons are becoming more like rifles. These razor-bladed arrows can travel 150 yards in just 1 second now. These are not like your grandparents' bows and arrows. The 150-yard safety zone we currently have really should be a minimum. And remember, these safety zones are measured from our houses, not from our property lines. Tree stands do not reduce the need for a safety zone of at least 150 yards. Nobody wants to look out from our backyards and our homes and see armed people up in tree stands looking back at us. It is very disconcerting. This happened to us. This is a tree stand on the left that we saw looking out from our back bedroom window with a person in camo with weapons hunting from there. The arrows were also in our safety zone. And so we were able to get help. But if the safety zone were reduced below 150 yards, we would have had no recourse at all. And the hunting season has now been extended to extremely long period of time, to 5 months of the year. And this is what people would have to see and endure with no recourse. These are areas where we walk with our pets, where our neighbors walk, and we would have to see this kind of thing with nothing we could do about it. Please remember that hunting can already occur closer to people's homes if the homeowner gives permission and if it doesn't violate any neighbors' safety zones. But as you just heard, what this bill would do is to allow this kind of hunting and presence in neighborhoods and closer to people's homes, even where it is not wanted by the families living there. And it is not an effective way to control or manage deer populations. We have other ways of living with deer. We ask that you would please help us by opposing House Bill 928 and any effort to reduce or compromise our 150-yard safety zone in Baltimore County. And we do thank you for your protection.
Thank you, Ms. Weissman, for your testimony. Next, we have Liara Leonard. If you are on, you can unmute yourself. I'm asking you to unmute.
Good morning.
Good morning. You have the mic in 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Liara Lenhard, and I live in Baltimore County, and I am actually extremely upset about House Bill 928 that will reduce the safety zone. I've had many, many dangerous encounters with hunters trespassing on my property. One hunter has caused so many problems in our neighborhood to the point that people who used to socialize no longer speak to one another. This bill will further exacerbate the situation by allowing hunters to come even closer to our homes. House Bill 928 only benefits bow hunters, and crossbows are extremely dangerous. We're not talking about bows and arrows that you see kids, use at summer camp. Crossbows now are actually more like guns, and they shoot like guns. Safety zones of 50 or even 100 yards cannot keep us safe when crossbows can shoot an arrow 150 yards in 1 second. I actually have my written testimony that I turned in. I have an ad that you can look at from American Rifleman magazine. The crossbows are just getting more and more dangerous as the years go by. Bow hunting now starts in early September and continues all the way until the beginning of February. So that's 5 long months of bow hunting, where people will be put into even more danger when hunters can hunt in areas too close to homes where they have never been able to hunt before. All 98% of Marylanders that do not hunt have the right to recreate outdoors without this added danger, especially since reduced safety zones in other counties, because they have done it in a few other counties, and it's proven that it does not reduce the deer population. 98% of Marylanders do not hunt, and the Gonzalez report found that 88% of Baltimore County residents oppose reducing safety zones. So please protect us from this misguided and dangerous bill. Vote no to House Bill 928. The gentleman that wants the bill, there's lots of things that he can do to protect his plants, his vegetables. There are many other ways to deal with the deer than using a bill like this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Leonard. Next, third person is Ms. Enid Feinberg. You go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Enid Feinberg, and I'm a Baltimore County resident, and I oppose House Bill HB 928. I'm also a DNR, deer management stakeholder. I've served on the previous committee that was from 2009 to 2018, and I was just asked to serve on the next 15-year DNR, deer management stakeholders group again. And what I can tell you is there is no true benefit from reducing safety zones for deer population control. Please don't be tricked because reducing safety zones is supposedly so valuable for managing the deer. If it was that valuable, you would see a much greater deer harvest in the graph that I included with my written testimony. And just like you, we're tired of a lot of these hunting bills, but that's not a good enough reason to pass such a bad and dangerous bill, especially when only 2% of Baltimore County residents are hunters. We were so concerned about the flawed information that you were getting from DNR, from different groups that were like trying to promote these hunting bills, that we actually commissioned Patrick Gonzalez to do a statewide poll to find out how Marylanders felt about the safety zone reduction, Sunday hunting, much more. We asked currently, most counties in Maryland have a 150-yard safety zone, which prohibits hunting within 150 yards of an occupied structure such as your home. Now that archery crossbows can shoot an arrow almost 150 yards in 1 second, do you favor or oppose legislation that would reduce the safety zone distance to 50 yards of an occupied structure? Metro Baltimore, which includes Baltimore County, Howard County, Harford County, 88% of the poll participants oppose reducing the safety zone, the archery safety zone, and that was Republicans, Democrats, and independents. And I realize that some of you may not live in areas that are afflicted with the negative impacts of bow hunting for the 5 long months, but your opposition or support to HB 928 directly impacts the quality of my life. And just like the gentleman had a dead deer on his property, I have had multiple deer with arrows in them that I have photographs and documentation die on my property and had to drag bleeding dead deer into the woods because of hunters. I have had hunters threaten me. I have DNR reports to show this, and I am begging you to please not let these hunters any closer to our homes. And what is most important is that the polling results show that Baltimore County residents do not want archery safety zones reduced or Sunday hunting. And as our delegates, you're supposed to represent all the citizens of Baltimore County, not just the hunters. And I implore you to do what's fair and right. And please vote no on HB 928.
Thank you, Ms. Feinberg. We have a number of questions. If folks could address or mention if you're asking a question to the sponsor or one of the two panels, and we will start with Delegate Cardin.
Thank you very much. This is for the sponsor. Thank you, Delegate Arikan, for bringing this bill. I have tons of deer in my yard, and it drives me crazy. And it is annoying, and I understand the issue. However, at this point, I am adamantly opposed to this legislation as a way to do it. The question is, if I am walking in the woods behind my house on private property, and with my dog, and somebody is 50 yards away from me and yells, "Oh, I almost shot you with my bow and arrow because I thought you were a deer," during deer hunting, how am I supposed to feel as just a person? And by the way, this happened to me. This has actually happened to me a couple years ago, where somebody was on private land hunting. He was right on the edge of private public land, and he was doing it. It was questionable whether it was legal or illegal. But how can we possibly allow this to be a reduced amount if people are aiming their arrows at us, at people, at legislators? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would say, we heard a lot of testimony in opposition that was pointing out bad actors and hunters that aren't following the current laws that we have. I would say those people should be reported to the police because they're already breaking the law. And I'm not sure that changing our safety zone to match Montgomery County, Calvert County, Harford County is going to change what you experience. That's just
except that from what DNR told me when I did call, they said this gentleman was technically on the public land where he was allowed to be. And he didn't actually shoot me, but he told me that he could have because he saw me walking and he said I was clearly on the other side of the creek where the public and private, he was on one side, I was on the other. It seems to me that if we're gonna reduce down to 50, we're just gonna make those situations much more likely. And our job is to try and keep people out of harm's way. And it seems like there are other solutions. You want to go year round with hunting as a way of doing it? That's something else we could consider, although I'm not sure. But I think
I too want to break from that.
Reducing safety zones is just a terrible idea. So, and we'll talk about it offline. I didn't mean to be.
I appreciate you, Delegate Curtin, always.
Delegate Brooks.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. This question is also for the sponsor. Delegate, what was the motivation for the bill?
It was a constituent request.
A constituent?
Yeah.
So one constituent?
I'll have to ask my staff if more people have requested it, but it was a specific request from a constituent. Yeah.
Okay. Would this be on both private and public property? The bill.
Well, public is already if it's designated as hunting ground, that's totally different. But yeah, this would I think be for private property.
Okay, and quickly, this is for Mr.
Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, yeah, Mr. Wilson. And your major concern was your flowers and then your garden. Could that concern be addressed with deer netting? Because I suffer some of the same problems, but that's the way I addressed it, was putting a deer netting around my garden and then the wire mesh around over the flowers.
We have done that, and it's worked to an extent, but again, you're barricading your own property to keep the deer out. It's one of those, why should I have to barricade myself in? I moved out to the county to enjoy the the land, nature, etc., and just putting all these stuff up. It's kind of counterproductive to the just to enjoying things.
Well, you can look at it as a means of also protecting your neighbors. All right. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
No problem, Delegate in Polaria.
Thank you. And to Ms. Wiseman, look, I'm 100% pro hunting, and people should have the right to hunt. We need that. But I have not received a single email or phone call from anyone who supports this bill. So please don't think this is the hunting population that wants to have this. Why this was brought forward, I don't know, but I've received overwhelming amounts of email from those who don't want to have it. And your comments about the crossbows, I agree with you 100%. And I own a crossbow, but a crossbow is loaded like a gun and has a trigger just like a gun. And you can be climbing up into that deer stand and accidentally hit that trigger and fire that without intending to do that. Now, you can't do that with a compound bow because you're holding it, and it's only going to release when you intentionally release it. So I can't support legislation like this. This is the kind of legislation where someone will turn around and say, oh, this guy's anti-hunting. But in this case, I really feel it's about public safety and making sure that, you know, you have the right to enjoy your land. And I know for myself, if someone said to me, come hunt my property and I can hunt it, you know, 50 yards off of somebody else's, and that neighbor said, I don't want you hunting there, out of respect for that neighbor, I wouldn't do that. And, you know, honestly, most hunters are like that. There might be a few that aren't, but the majority of hunters don't want to hunt where they're not welcome. And so I'm glad that you came in to bring this opposition, because I didn't answer any of the emails that I received to tell them my position one way or the other. But clearly I got no one who came in and supported this type of legislation. And I do think it's bad legislation. If they want to do this and it was an old style non-compound bow, limit to that, maybe that would be responsible. Because you know, you have maybe 50 pounds and that bow may shoot 150 feet and still could kill a deer. The compound bows, like you said, no, they travel way too far with way too much power, and they are like guns nowadays.
Thank you, Delegate. Isn't that so? Delegate Ebersol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So one of the reasons that we're told that we need this bill is to get rid of the deer from areas. Has anyone on either side of this looked at a study about the percentage of a deer herd you would need to kill to actually make the herd thinner going forward? My studies show me that the amount we would kill, especially in this case, by increasing 150 yards, the number of extra deer, but even the deer kills that are out there are barely enough, because then it just creates room for more young deer the next year. So if anyone has a study, just tell me. You don't have to go into it too deeply if you want to just say the percentage, but otherwise I would love someone to forward it to my mail so I can read it.
Can I answer that?
Delegate Ebersol, that wasn't really the purpose of the bill. It wasn't really to thin the herd. It was just so that people who are actively having a problem can kill the deer that are actively causing the problem. Not really as a management plan. That was not the intention, at least.
No, but other deer are going to show up. Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, gotcha. Delegate Guyton, followed by Delegate Jalisi.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the fact that you brought this bill on behalf of constituent Delegate Ericon. And I appreciate Mr. Wilson for being here. Your description of where you live, it may be in Delegate Ericon's district, it may be in mine. I live in a very similar spot surrounded by the Gunpowder State Park, which you also mentioned. And this bill terrifies me. I am not anti-hunting, but I do want to relate, because I cannot testify against this bill in a regular hearing, that in my property, which sounds similar to your property, we have actually had to call DNR several times because our garage, well, one instance was shot while we were building cars with the Cub Scouts group. And these hunters tell us they were past the 150-foot mark at that time when DNR came out. So the fact that somebody's considering bringing Crossroads closer to my house is really, really terrifying. And I do want to say, like Delegate Impalaria as well, I have just gotten overwhelming opposition in my hunting district to this bill because neighbors don't want it. I do have one specific, and deer are a problem, I will agree, but this isn't the way to deal with it. I do have one specific question to the sponsor, and that is, I heard from one of the opposition that a hunter can actually allow people to hunt closer on their private land if they choose to do so. Is that accurate? And if so, why this bill?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is accurate. I mean, you can always permit somebody to hunt on your land. The problem would be if your land is small and is close to another, within that 150 of another property.
So you want them to be able to get closer to someone else's house, not
that's what this bill does. This literally adds one word of Baltimore County with like 10 or 15 other counties. It's just a one word bill.
Okay. Not in favor, but thank you.
I understand. Thanks.
Delegate Jalisi, followed by Delegate Long, and last question will go to Delegate Schillinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was more of a general question for my information. If the sponsor or any other people know, what is the amount of damage that the deer accidents cause to vehicles every year? And if and what is the Baltimore County policy in culling the deer population? I know there's some policy to keep the deer population down, but what is it in effect now?
Yeah, those are great questions. I don't have a number for the actual damage caused by deer, but I can certainly dig into it and see if I can find it. I know it's a lot. I know many people who have had their cars totaled and had, medical issues because they've been hit. My family has all had Lyme disease because the deer roamed through our yard my entire childhood. And it's made my family extremely ill. In terms of your second question, repeat that one again.
How does Baltimore County control the deer population?
Oh, right. So I'm not sure there's a specific county plan. I think DNR, I think the state has deer control plans, and they all involve hunting, to my knowledge. I'm not sure we're poisoning deer or anything crazy like that. So they are hunting based, but maybe the statistics don't bear out that it's an effective method. I would love to know what a better method is. But I think most of the DNR things revolve around hunting seasons.
My understanding is that if you have an accident with a deer, the car may be damaged, and the Maryland law is that you only pay $250 deductible, and the rest has to be paid by the insurance company. So if you can contact whoever the legislative person is for the insurance companies, they might be able to give you that number, at least for the road traffic accidents, which sometimes can affect pedestrians too. And you can send it to me offline. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Delegate Long.
I just had a real quick question. If you have a crop damage permit, if you're a farmer, you have a crop damage permit, do these regulations also go, your safety zones, that apply for them also? Do you know?
I don't know if that applies for crop damage permits. I guess it probably does. My assumption would be that safety zones trump other kinds of policies. But I can certainly get back to you on that one and find out if there's any impact.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Last question goes to Delegate Schlega. We have one more bill to hear, and we have a voting session after that. Delegate Schlega.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I will address Delegate Long's question because Delegate Brooks and I last year got a crop damage bill passed to allow farmers that have these crop damage permits to get an extension on that. So Delegate Arcan's right, safety zones are safety zones. The crop damage permit is about helping those farmers who have crop damage. So I believe that's the answer to that. But Delegate Arcan, I'm reading the bill, House Bill 928, and it looks like you're just adding Baltimore County to the list that includes Calvert, Carroll, Cecil, Frederick, Hartford, Montgomery County, St. Mary's, or Washington. So you're adding the 50-yard to that, but if you go 3 paragraphs down, Baltimore County and Hartford County have gone further in safety to say that you have to be in a tree stand. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
So these like shooting at ground level reports is not what this would do, because you have to be in a tree stand shooting down towards the ground.
Exactly.
Clearly see what you were shooting at.
That's the idea behind the added legislation there.
Yeah. So those other counties, it's interesting, haven't added the tree stand. And it's quite interesting to me that of all our counties, Montgomery County allows this to happen. So
yeah. And they're a much more urban county. So it's been fine for them. I haven't heard any reports of anybody being injured, but
yeah, and I've talked to DNR about this deer population issue. They do open up special hunting seasons and invite hunters to come to try to reduce the herd. There was some study where they were actually doing deer birth control, which is weird, but I don't know if they're still doing that. It seems
whatever works, right? Because it's such a big problem.
I too, Delegate Guyton, live down the gunpowder from you on the gunpowder, and they decimate everything on my property. So thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Delegate. Thank you to
May
the
I make a
sponsor.
comment?
Negative, ma'am. Sorry. We're going to move on to the next bill. We have some other.
Okay, because I'm the one doing the birth control.
Thank you, folks, for presenting and for the discussion. We'll be moving on to HB 1141, Baltimore County Public Schools Air Quality Testing. Delegate Bodler, you have the mic when you're ready, and I believe you have one person testifying in support.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Baltimore County delegation. I'm Delegate Joe Boatler for the record, and I'm here on House Bill 1141. It's a very simple piece of legislation. It just requires that the Baltimore County Board of Education to retain services of an independent air quality inspector to conduct any air quality testing the county board chooses to have conducted in a public school in the county. It also requires that that would be made public, and it requires that the State Department of Education would get that same information and they would make it public on their end too. The second part of the bill, oh, well, that's it. It's two parts. You know, one, to make it public. Secondly, to have an independent inspector. This bill, the genesis of this bill came from a teacher at Parkville Middle School who actually was in the news. And in the fall of 2018, she had forwarded an email complaining that many teachers have complained of health issues that they believe is related to the existence of mold in the building. A form was created to report the mold, which according to the emails, the mold was found in chairs, door frames, freezer, fridge, exhaust vents. There was also mold over the desks, mold growing on a flag, mold growing in the concrete. So apparently the mold was all over the building. The Parkville principal responded to that email saying that, referring to the mold as community concerns. Eventually, the Parkville assistant principal did request an air quality test to address the staff's concerns. It took 7 months after the complaints were first filed that an air quality assessment was done. The results, in the meantime, I will say they did move very quickly to get rid of the mold and to mitigate it. My understanding, though, is even the parents, the teachers, nobody knew that they were doing this to start with. And I think that's something that, you know, if you have a kid at a school and there's mold growing around, that they should at least, the parents and all should be made known that, you know, that is what is happening. When the test came back, it was found that there was no significant mold growth, but yet they did indicate mold was found in crawl spaces and in a particular room 215, which if anybody knows anything about mold, if you don't get rid of all of it, it's going to come back, and it can come back in a pretty vicious way. So that's the, you know, the reason for this. I'm hoping that the, I'm not sure who the speaker is. That may be my granddaughter that is on here. She actually did a research paper on this issue. One thing I'd like to point out, and I wish that Tony, who is from Baltimore County, I did not see his email till late last night, and I wish I was able to have a conversation with him. One of the things that he was questioning is, well, you know, when would you be required to procure the service of an independent air quality inspector? Well, that's up to Baltimore County. That's up to them when they decide that they need to do an air quality test. then that's up to them then to move forward with that. I'm not trying to require them to do it over every simple complaint that comes in. That's not the purpose of the legislation. You know, the purpose of the legislation is to make sure when it's done, that it is done by an independent group and not by those that work for Baltimore County. Because in talking to some of the teachers, what I found that really they were not treated very well in this. They were not very well informed, even after a so-called independent investigation was done. So that's it. And I'm asking that you would give this a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, delegates. And moving to the panel, we have Miss Maureen Hall, Baltimore County Public Schools teacher. If you're here, you can unmute yourself. Miss Hall.
Mr. Chairman, by the way, she is not my granddaughter.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, she is the teacher at Parkville Middle School. So,
sure. Miss Maureen Hall, if you're here, you can unmute yourself. Ma'am. She was here. All right. Well, the next person actually is, might be your granddaughter, Delegate Abigail Bodler.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank
Welcome. You have
Thank
3
you.
minutes.
All right. Thank you to the delegation, Chair Young and Delegate Butler for sponsoring this important legislation. I'm here today to ask the delegation to adopt a favorable report. From pre-kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, students are spending the majority of their day inside school buildings. This being said, it's essential that schools are able to provide a safe environment that ensures students are staying safe and healthy and breathing good quality air. Although I did not attend school in Baltimore County, I attended public school in Prince George's County, where my classrooms, where I spent many hours every day, were found to have mold and asbestos. This was found not from testing performed by the school systems, but from seeing mold. And through testing done by my teachers through private individuals, they found that the quality of air was quite poor. So imagine what else we're being exposed to that we don't even know about. If my teachers didn't notice mold growing in our classrooms, we would have never known the poor quality of air we were being exposed to, as the school system either was not testing, or if they were testing, these issues were not being documented so that the community could understand and know about these concerns. In a study conducted by NIH in Baltimore County, it was found that poor air quality was associated with increased absenteeism, increased cognitive development and developmental disorders, and decreased academic performance. This is all in addition to the many health issues contracted due to poor air quality, such as respiratory illnesses, heart disease, shortened lifespans, cancer, and even death. However, due to Baltimore County's lack of data and monitoring stations that track air pollution, schools in the study may have been missed, and the situation could be quite worse. For this reason, I believe that HB 1141 is essential, as it will allow for independent individuals to be put in charge of testing air quality, and this information to be released to the public so that more conclusive studies can be done. And furthermore, parents, teachers, students, and other community members can use this data to push for improvements in air quality when needed. With your help, HB 1141 can serve to be an example for other counties throughout the state to increase not only the amount of air quality data collected, but the transparency of the data that they do collect. For these reasons, I urge the committee, the delegation, to issue a favorable report of HB 1141. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bodler. Well under time. I'm sure you have a very proud grandfather.
Absolutely. If I could add something too, Baltimore County is very transparent when they're doing these air quality tests. And and I couldn't confirm it, but I do believe that Montgomery County does the same thing.
Understood. I'm going to try one more time. I believe Miss Hall is under the name Mo. If you're,
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
Go ahead, ma'am. You have 3 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maureen Hall. I'm a paraeducator at Parkville Middle School, and I have 2 reasons why I would like this bill passed, House Bill passed 1141. The first reason is personal. Since 2018, I've been sick with numerous health issues relating to mold and asbestos in the school building. Many teachers and students have been sick and have had upper respiratory infections due to this, and has been documented since 2003. Mold has been found in numerous surfaces, including desks, class flag, keyboards, basketballs, growing out of walls, growing in teachers' desks, and growing out of exhaust fans. In addition to all this, there's a constant smell of mold in the lower part of the building, and which has flooded out several times. The second reason I want this bill to be passed is that we're still in a pandemic. The teachers and students will be going back to the building soon. Half of all schools that have been built between 1954 and 1969 have asbestos that is used in the building materials to create durability and fire resistance. This is very worrisome. In 2016, during the winter, our air conditioning unit fell into the Parkville basketball court, causing a huge hole in the building. As I looked up one day, I can't imagine how much of that asbestos or whatever materials that are in that building has leaked into the school or leaked into the vents, making it very worrisome and bad air quality. To my knowledge, the school itself does not have an air filtration system. And so with the teachers and students returning, this is another concern of mine, and why the House Bill 1141 should be passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to questions for the sponsor. I see Delegate Ebersol. You have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to clarify, and by the way, really, as teachers need to be protected as well as students, Delegate Butler, I think it's a good idea. There's nothing in your bill that sets up a mechanism to request this. It just says that if the county board decides to do it, they need to hire an independent person to audit. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And so I would love to see if we could set up some kind of mechanism, or at least suggest the county set up some kind of mechanism where people can alert them, so that it's a little more formal that they do it. Nice, good idea. Really like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I missed it. Can you please refresh me as to what was there a case where Baltimore County didn't do something that's the impetus for the bill?
Is Mo still on? Is
Yeah.
she here? Let her answer that.
Yeah, very, very briefly, please.
What was the question again?
Yeah, what was the impetus? What was the case? I've had similar situations with other issues, environmental issues, but what was your example that in Baltimore County that was the impetus for the bill?
Back in 2018, when we came back from summer break, the air conditioning vents were left open by Johnson Control. And that summer, I don't know if you remember, we had a very, very wet summer. So a lot of that condensation and all that wetness, before that we had issues in the building with mold, but this just kind of added to it. So when we came in, all our school materials, bean bags, chairs were covered in this black fuzzy stuff. So this was a big concern because it was all in our materials. We couldn't hand out all these materials to the kids covered in this mold. So it just kind of, then we had the later part of the year, we had more rain. So it just kept growing and growing. So that's why we asked for a mold test and an air quality test.
Did they test at all?
Well, I went to the rep because we didn't get any response from the higher ups. So our TADCO rep came in and she, stood by us and demanded that we have some testing. But then when they did testing, they hired supposedly independent company, from which I understand, and we found out later, that is hired by Baltimore County, which I don't think is impartial rather.
Yeah,
So,
same thing happened with an oil spill we had. Good bill, thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Seeing no further questions, I think we have Mr. Bazemore here from BCPS. Just helpful to hear from you all if you have any comments about the bill or something you'd like to share with the delegation related to Delegate Bowler's bill?
Yeah, good morning, Chairman Young, Vice Chair Brooks, and Speaker Jones, and the entire delegation. Good morning. And yes, I wanted to just reach out to Delegate Bowler, and just when I spoke to our engineers in our physical facilities department, they said they would like to reach out to you, Delegate Bowler, and talk about some of the things that we are doing around air quality right now. We have certified industrial hygienists who investigate complaints and they do testing. And so we want to work with you on this because we all want, good air quality and that sort of thing. But we feel like having a conversation with our engineers, kind of learning more about what they're doing right now and some of the things they're doing, that maybe if there are some gaps there, we could have, legislation that could pinpoint some of the gaps that we may be experiencing. So I just wanted to extend that to you. And the email I sent last night was from the engineers themselves. They had a few questions and some information that they wanted to relay. So, we wanted to extend that to you, and hopefully we can work with you to, on this.
Thank you, Mr. Bazemore. Appreciate it. Seeing no further questions, that concludes our bill hearings. We're going to move into voting session. Thank you all for participating, for the folks in support, and for the sponsors. First bill we've got on my voting sheet is going to be HB 85, Baltimore County Workers' Compensation.
Hello, Mr. Chair, may I report?
You absolutely can. Delegate Carden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brilliant bill brought by our good delegate from Central Baltimore County, and the subcommittee voted unanimously to support the bill. The bill alters definition of a public safety employee for the purposes of workers' compensation so that correctional officers and detention officers would be included in that grouping. We ask for we bring a favorable report to the full delegation.
Excellent. Move the bill.
Oh, and by the way, Mr. Chairman, Baltimore County fully supports this and gave us a letter of support, which is in the file.
Excellent. Second on favorable motion.
Second, Delegate Impalaria, because I actually think I brought this bill 14 years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, now it all comes full circle, Delegate. Well,
yes, it does.
So we'll do a voice vote, and if anybody's in opposition, make sure I'll recognize them. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Seeing none, bill passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Delegate Carden, for the reports. Moving to HB 559, Baltimore County Property Tax, Homeowners Property Tax Credit. Sending it to Delegate Metzger for the subcommittee report.
Yes, sir. We had a discussion. I'm on.
Yes, sir.
Bill 559, Delegate Long's bill was unfavorable amongst party lines. So it's unfavorable.
Got it. There's an unfavorable motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion on the
favorable.
We already had an unfavorable motion, Delegate Long, in a second. Discussion on the unfavorable motion.
Can I find out why it was found unfavorable by the subcommittee? What were the main reasons?
Delegate Metzger.
Yes, it was pretty broad spectrum and a lot of questions that were kind of unanswered, and we've reached and we've kind of got some things working on another bill that's similar to this that will bring much certainty to bring a positive result. But this bill was kind of conflicting in its own terms. That's what pretty much the census was with the other committee persons. I personally voted yes for it. So,
Delegate Shalega.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you tell us briefly what it does? I'm reading it and it is a little bit confusing. Maybe that's, why the subcommittee was grappling with it. And if you can tell us.
I'd like to, I would refer that to Delegate Long if you would.
Okay, and then if you could also perhaps tell us what the other bill is that's similar and who that sponsor is.
The other bill?
The other bill is a bill we're still working on, House Bill 348, property tax credit that we're working on. We got some amendments on that that's going to be forthcoming when I can work with the committee.
And it's similar to this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would wonder if perhaps when Delegate Long answers my questions, he would consider withdrawing his bill and co-sponsoring that other one to work together so we get one through.
He's the sponsor on that one as well.
Okay. Delegate Long, could you answer Delegate Shalagy's question?
Yes.
She wanted a clarification on what the bill does.
I'm trying to remember this one. What was the number of the bill again? Because
559.
859. Hold on for a minute. Paper records.
Delegate Ruth, do you have a quick question?
Oh, it's not 859.
Still muted.
Sorry, I was trying to do the space bar thing. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add that the reason that I voted against it was because of the fiscal note, which was pretty significant.
Understood. Thank you,
Okay.
Delegate. Delegate Long, go ahead. Go ahead,
I have
Delegate
my
Long.
notes.
Yep, go for it. You're good.
Okay, this would have raised the limit of if you were eligible for a homeowner's tax credit. Basically, right now, the limit's $60,000. This would have raised it up to 70. I'm sorry, gross from 60 to 72. I'm sorry. And given the pandemic with property taxes, we want to make sure that people can remain in their homes. Right now, that was based on 2006. This was a modest increase to $72,000. And that's all this basically does. It just brings the amount of earned or the amount of income up to $72,000, just raised that limit. That's all it did. And also did raise some other brackets, and it was a pretty simple bill, I thought.
And what about the other, but you have another bill in that's similar?
No, not, wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, there's a House Bill 348.
348 that we don't have today, but it is also.
No, and we don't have the other bill either, right? We have to read them. I haven't read them yet.
Right, no, 348 only sends out notifications for homeowner property tax credit. I believe, I can't find my bill right now. My desk is kind of a wreck. But
That's right.
yeah, they're two different bills.
Yep. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the question on the bill in hand.
Understood. The question is a unfavorable motion. I'll go ahead and do a roll call vote, starting with Delegate Erickson on the unfavorable motion. And she is on her phone. I'll come back. Delegate Del Castro on the unfavorable motion.
Yes.
Delegate Bhandari.
Yes.
Delegate Bodler.
No.
Delegate Brooks. Stepped out. Delegate Cardin.
Yes.
Delegate Ebersol.
Yes.
Delegate Feldmark.
Yes.
Delegate Forbes.
Yes.
Delegate Grammer.
No.
Delegate Guyton.
Yes.
Delegate Hill. Steps out. Delegate Impalaria. Delegate Jackson.
Impalaria
Yes.
is no.
Got it. Impalaria is no. Delegate Jackson is a yes. Delegate Delisi.
Yes.
Delegate Speaker Jones.
Yes.
Delegate Long.
No.
No. Delegate Mangione,
No.
Delegate Metzger,
No.
Delegate Ruth,
Sorry, yes.
Delegate Stein,
Yes.
and Delegate Shalega.
No.
12 and yes,
And
the
it looks like our hand's off her phone, so hopefully she'll vote now.
Delegate Erickson on the unfavorable motion, yay or nay? Delegate Erickson,
Obviously, she's turned her sound off.
I think we're muted now. I will 12 in the affirmative, the motion passes. Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving to HB 573, Baltimore County overdue property taxes, waiver of waiver of interest and penalties. Delegate Metzger, you have the report.
Yes, we have a very favorable report on this one. We had good discussion and good dialogue, and it was unanimous and favorable. So I move favorable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion on the favorable motion.
I wanted to find out for how long is this bill going to be effective? Is it going to be effective last year and this year, or during while the emergency lasts, or is it like a permanent bill where they cannot charge interest and penalties at all?
It looks as though it goes until 2020.
I'm sorry, 2023. And it starts when? Is it retroactive or it starts?
It starts June 30th, 21.
21. Okay. So the county can still charge penalties and interest for last year's non-payment during the COVID emergency?
Right, because the bill doesn't take effect until June 30th.
Okay. Thank you.
Delegate Feldmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to share that I was unable to attend the meeting where this was voted on. I did submit a vote after the fact to a subcommittee that I was opposed to this bill. My concern is that there's no means test for this, and I don't think it's appropriate to move forward without a means test at a time when the county is struggling financially as well. So I just wanted to offer that explanation for.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Ruth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also voted against this because of the fiscal note, and I'm totally sympathetic to the fact that people are struggling, but I feel like if we take money away from the county, it reduces the county's ability to respond to these, to be flexible in responding to these issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delegate Long on your bill.
I have a question.
Stand by. Yes, Delegate, I'll get you next.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask a question?
And
Go
after
ahead.
Delegate Long, Delegate Jalisi. Stand by.
Go ahead, my computer's not acting right.
You're good. Go ahead, Delegate Long.
Yeah, the means test, I understand where the delegates' concerns are, but anybody who can't pay their property taxes, I mean, I think that's a pretty good means test. Nobody wants to be late on their property taxes. And, I'm not trying to be smart, but I think that's a good way we can look at it. Thank you.
Understood. Delegate Jalisi, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted clarification. The subcommittee chair said that the vote in the subcommittee was unanimous, but I heard the other delegates say that she voted against it.
3-2.
Oh, so it was not unanimous?
Wasn't unanimous. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay. Delegate Cardin, last question or comment.
Just real quick. First of all, did the county come in opposed to it?
I've seen no letters, not at all.
And would this, did the subcommittee discuss whether this would actually encourage people to file late, regardless of whether they are capable or not, because there's not going to be any penalty for filing late?
No, the discussion was pretty much just, it was more of a, truly Delegate Cardin, it was more of a compassion bill.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I understand. I understand the purpose of the bill. I'm just worried, like, so my property taxes are due, my next property tax is gonna be due July. If this goes into effect July 1 and my property taxes aren't due till July 15th, why would I pay them on July 15th? I mean, I can afford it, so why would I pay my property?
I think what this is really to help the people that cannot afford to pay their property tax bills and to sort of.
Right, but this doesn't say that you can't afford. This just says anybody who doesn't pay it.
No. What I'm saying is that Delegate Long's intent is to bring to the table the opportunity to save homes.
I agree, and I understand. I love the idea. I'm just worried that once it gets out there that everybody is not going to have to pay, and the county's going to wind up losing that. They're going to wait a year before they get any of that revenue, and then we're going to be back here next year with all kinds of budget deficits. That's what I worry about.
I see a lot of questions associated with this one coming up, and we have 2 more bills to vote on. Delegate Metzger, if you could, if you're okay with withdrawing your motion, we're going to hold it and send it back to subcommittee and answer some of these questions, okay? Can you
That's fine.
do that?
Yes, sir, withdraw.
Okay. Withdrawing the motion on the favorable from the subcommittee. Thank you, folks. We'll have Delegate Long and the subcommittee chair answer the questions from folks from the committee and talk with the county and get clarification. Moving to HB 677, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages Board of License Commissioners. Throwing it to the subcommittee chair, Delegate Jackson.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow Baltimore Countyans. The Alcoholic Beverage Subcommittee met and voted on HB 677, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverage Board of License Commissioners qualifications. This bill will require each member of the Board of License Commissioners for Baltimore County to be a resident and voter of Baltimore County. The vote in subcommittee was unanimous. I move the bill as adopted by the committee.
There's a favorable motion.
Shalega seconds.
Second from Delegate Shalega. I'm just going to do a voice vote, and if anyone's in opposition, I will recognize them, or if anyone needs to abstain. All in favor of HB 677 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Or anyone abstaining?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
I did jump to, well, I left it open, but we already voted.
Not on this bill, I just you a question.
On what?
Not on this bill, just another question.
Oh, gotcha. Stand by 1 sec. Let me just finish with seeing no opposition. HB 677 passes. Thank you. Delegate Eric, can you have a question?
Sorry, I missed our last vote because I was on the phone with bill drafting for amendments. I need any chance you'd let me be an unfavorable.
We withdrew the bill.
No, not that bill. The one before.
The one where she was
the one I missed that I was on the phone with bill drafting.
She needs a no vote on the unfavorable.
She needs a no vote on the unfavorable.
House Bill 559.
Yep, I'm looking at it. Delegate Eric, I don't see any problem with you being there and then also making it clear that you were in opposition, recognizing that you were in opposition and making your voice heard now since we have it on recording as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then I'm going to confirm that we're actually allowed to do that.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm going to put you in the nay, okay?
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay. HB 677 passes. Final bill, everyone. End of the road, and we're before 10:30. I don't want to speak too soon. HB 468, Baltimore County School Board Nominating Commission Vacancy Procedures. Is there a report from the subcommittee, Delegate Ebersol?
Yes, there is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That I can explain the bill if we want to, but I will tell you that the committee voted unanimously for favorable for this. Without going into too much detail, unless somebody wants me to, we're cleaning up some things. This allows a more streamlined process. If we lose one member of the board, it took over 5 months to replace Roger Hayden during his unfortunate passing. It does it nicely, and also allows for People who have applied before, their applications can stand for 2 years. They can resubmit them without going through the interview process if they were not one of the ones chosen by the governor. And we move favorable.
Good. Is there a second?
Second.
And discussion on the bill, Delegate Shalega.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. You're reducing the number of public hearings?
Yes, it would reduce the number of public hearings from 3 to 1. And it would put them in the geographic location of the member, if that was a member who was representing a district, or I forget where exactly, if it was an at-large member.
Why did you go from 3 to 1 and not 3 to 2? That seems like it's not good transparency and public input.
Well, you could go from 3 to 2, or you could keep it at 3. The feeling is that in this situation, we're replacing a single member. It causes problems when we're missing a member, as we have seen. There can be difficulties. The idea was to get someone who could be vetted by the committee. They're going to be fully vetted the way they were before. Just the public hearing, and the hearing would be online. There's additional information to apply it online now in this kind of format that we now have and we're so used to. So I think we felt 1 was enough.
Yeah, I mean, the vetting is by a committee, not by the public, right?
No, yeah, it's by the 19-member. I could look up the past title and find out.
Yeah, I'm reading the bill as we speak. So,
but it would. I don't think their names are in the bill unless they reprinted that part.
Yeah, I'm going to have to vote no, because you're reducing public input. While you want to get it fast, you got to get it right and let.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think if we have a single meeting, we're not going to reduce public input. That before, when this was made, it was under the idea that they would be in 3 geographic locations. A single meeting online allows for plenty of public input. But thank you for your commentary.
Delegate Chilisi.
Are we going to vote on this bill today? Because it was not on the agenda that I received, and I haven't been able to read up on it.
There was an updated agenda that I believe Barb sent out last night that included this one as the last bill we were voting on today.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Delegate Erickson.
25.
Thank you. I just want to say I had the same concerns as Delegate Shalega did originally. And then I thought about the whole Zoom format, and all of my constituents and people have loved this format and have thought it was really fun to interact with us now. And so that's what allayed my concerns about limiting it to 1 meeting, because because it's going to be like this format, it's going to be able to get out to, I thought, who would probably need to do it, and having it in geographic locations outside the district didn't really make sense when we talked about it. So that's why I ended up in subcommittee voting for it, because I like this Zoom format. I think it allows people that work and people that have kids to interact better than the in-person ones have been traditionally. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Delegate Forbes, do you have a comment or question related to the bill?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Delegate Shalega, the meetings are informational meetings about what it takes to apply to the board and what it means to serve on the board. So it isn't vetting candidates publicly. And the nominating commission reported back that it was very difficult to schedule. It's a 19-member committee in 3 different areas of the county. And that was one of the big hurdles they had in getting a replacement seated. And so by doing 1 meeting, but making it available online, and the bill also calls for it to be archived on the website. So someone who comes to the process late all this information will be available to them. Whatever happened in the meeting would be available to them. So I'm not looking for less transparency. I actually think it will be more. Thank you.
Understood. Delegate Long. You're muted, sir.
I'm just curious, is there any way we could put language in here that would limit this only for Zoom meetings? So if we do go back to public meetings where we can actually meet again, we'd still have free meetings?
In the normal nomination process, we still do have the 3 meetings. In this case, because we're looking for expediency, We reduced it to one and said it would be available as Delegate Forbes described.
Okay. Last comment, Delegate Shalea.
Thank you, Delegate Forbes, for helping clarify that. But as I read the bill, it also says for a vacancy for a member appointed at large, at least one public meeting.
Yes, this is for a single vacancy, not for the, not when we come to election. Roger Hayden
Right, but
wasn't.
if it's-
Wait, let me finish. Roger Hayden was a single at-large member as an example, and having him out, having it taking the commission 19 people to gather together 3 times to replace one person took 5 months, and the board was hampered by that. So at-large is included as well as district electeds.
So, you know, I get your point about a district elected one, you know, you're not going around the county, but you feel like one meeting for an at-whole county-wide position would be enough?
Ask
I
and
mean, the
answer.
problem with Zoom calls is people, which is great, can get on, but even in this meeting, we had so many questions, we had to put something on hold. I'm glad it says at least one public meeting, so that doesn't limit them to having more than one. But, you know, I'm not sure one for the county-wide. Did you look at changing the county-wide one to more than one meeting?
No, we did not.
Thank you.
There's a favorable and a second. I'm going to appreciate the discussion. I'm going to do a voice vote and record anyone who's in the negative and confirm. All in favor of HB 468 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed.
No.
No.
Got it. Stand by. Delegate Shalega is in the no.
No.
Yep. Delegate Grammer. Delegate Mangione is in the no.
Yes, correct.
And Delegate Bodler is a no.
No, I'm in the yes.
Got it. Understood. So I have Delegate Grammer, Delegate Mangione, Delegate Shalega. Anyone else in the negative?
I would like to abstain. I did not
Delegate Long.
receive the new agenda last night. The last email I received is 2:10 a.m. It does not include the agenda in it.
Understood.
So-
Thank you, Delegate.
So I'd
Shalega.
like to abstain on it.
Understood. One more time. Delegate Grammer, Delegate Long, Delegate Mangione, Delegate Shalega in the negative. Am I missing anyone? No, the bill passes. Thank you all. I jinxed myself. It's now 10:32. I thought we could finish before 10:30. But thank you all for the debate, then the discussion. I'll have a good day. See you all soon. Stand adjourned.